got a crowd out there. When I sat down, I didn't see hi. We're so blessed to be here in this atmosphere of love. When Jeff brought up this idea of possibilitarianism, it brings back some very fond memories. We created a website called Possibilitarian, and I thought we parked it. And then a couple of years later, a friend of mine, it was hijacked, and a friend of mine said, Angie, I want to sell you the website Possibilitarianism for $2,000. So anyway, somebody made some money on it. And I'd have to talk to Steve to see how can somebody hijack something that's been parked. Today we focus on the empowering themes for this month. It's open at the top and waking up to the possibility. When I thought about that, I thought, I want to waken up not only to the possibility, but I want to waken up to the seemingly impossible. Isn't that what we're all about? Because at the human level of consciousness, we look at everything in a limited temporal way and not a finite way. And so when we deal with that from this platform here, we know that it's possible to create the illogical, the unrealistic, the impossible. Anyway, today, what I love about the new year, and we're all here to do it, it gives us an opportunity to reflect back on the prior year. And that's what I love about this idea of a new year, because we can reflect back on the year before. And I think every one of us can give ourselves a pat on the back, can't we? Because we were able to transcend, pat on the back. We were able to live on purpose, to actually experience the whole, what I like to say, the whole enchilada of the human drama. And boy, there's a lot of challenge out there, isn't there? And to actually overcome the obstacles that's in our way, to actually use our creative power to create solutions. This building that we're sitting in came from all that, didn't it? So we can pat ourselves on the back and say, God bless you. Everything I experienced last year benefited me in some way, and I want to release that. So it's time today for us to release the past and stop thinking about it, because it's over now. But we release it with gratitude, and we thank Spirit for the tremendous opportunities we had to experience the whole enchilada of the human life, and to actually benefit by all the experiences we went through. Not with any yes or no's or positives or negatives, but just to bless the experience itself. Can we do that? Yes. Let's clap for ourselves. All right. The theme that we have this week, open at the top and experiencing and waking up to the possible, actually guarantees that each one of us will experience a health-driven, abundant, prosperous life experience. Stella and I talked about that, and we thought, what should we call it? Does anything rhyme with 2016? He says, all the things we need to do is say that we're going to enjoy a sweet 16 this year. You know what? Can we? A sweet 16. What does that mean? Well, when we were youngsters and we turned 16, what does that mean? The coming of age. Well, today we kick off the year by saying it's going to be the coming of agelessness. Think about that idea of agelessness. It's the kicking off of having that divine energy, we call it the spiritual energy, manifested in our life, to live spiritually. And that's what we mean by agelessness. So this month is pretty phenomenal, because we have a chance then to take a look at what we want to do and how we want to do it to experience for the new year. One of the things we always do is we look at the mystics and the prior teachers that were standing on their shoulders. We might as well take a look at what they're saying to us. And what I love is this one statement, is that when thou standest still from the thinking of self. Let's think about this, because we're looking at creating a life experience, but we've got to somehow do something so that we can have that flow of the divine in our life. So here's the key to that. When thou standest still from the thinking of self and the willing of self. What does that mean to us? When the intellect and the mind is quiet. And actually is passive to the impression of spirit and the sacred word. When the soul is winged up above the physical above the temporal. Then and only then will we be able to open ourselves up and experience the eternal speaking and saying and seeing that will be revealed to us. Now let's take a look at these statements and see what it's telling us. It's guiding and directing us into a very important situation. It's telling Angelo that, Angelo, if you want to experience this health-driven year, this abundant-driven year, then there's some things that I need to do in consciousness. And one of the major things that Angelo needs to do is create a consciousness of openness. And we say, well, what does that all mean? What it means, and the idea of the theme is open at the top. Where did that idea of openness come from? One of the things that is my situation is that I've got a chattering, continually yakking mind that keeps me off edge, that keeps me out of balance. And what this openness means, and where did it come from? Was it Ernest Holmes in 1926 when he created the science of mind, when he created the idea of open at the top? Is that where it came from? What do you think? Do you agree with that? Raise your hand if you think so. You don't have to. I'm leading you on here. Actually, the idea came way before Ernest Holmes was even born. It came into existence almost 2,000 years ago. A great mystic, it's a Greek mystic called Catullus. In 87 BC, my goodness, 87 BC, he came out with this idea of how we can expand and enhance our life. And it was kind of interesting. It was a simple statement. What I love about these old timers is the fact that they use parables, and you have to kind of, it's all esoteric. You have to figure out what the heck are they saying. Maybe that's why it took almost 2,000 years for us to grab on to. But what he said was, oh, what could be more blessed than to throw down the cares as the human mind throws down its burden. And weary from far-off travels, we come home and rest on the sofa, on the couch that we long for. We can say, what the heck is all that about? Is that what Angelo's trying to tell me I need to do so I can experience a wonderful 2016, a sweet 16? Yes. This is a blueprint for each one of us today to start considering, what does that blueprint tell us? We've got to somehow throw down the cares and allow the mind to put down its burden. And so what we're having to do here is, if we're really intent on experiencing an enhanced 2016, we need to figure out, what does that mean? And if you think about it, I thought about it a lot. Even from driving here today, the chattering mind, the committees of the head kept working me over, my gosh. And basically the committee in the head, what it does, it focuses on the past. And that's why Catullus in 87 BC said, and worry from the travels of far off places. He wasn't talking about cities and journeys like that. He was talking about the far off places that our minds continually into. And what are the far off places? It's the past and the future. We've got to somehow release that. And we've got to somehow realize that we're worried. And we need to rest on the couch. We need to come home and rest on the couch. Because of our travels, we're so weary of the far-off places. Isn't it absolutely awesome stuff? It's good. But if we can embrace that and make it our own, put our arms around it, and practice it, it takes a lot of work. Believe me, I'll tell you, this guy, an old Marine, I thought I was fearless. I'm in a plane, and I'm going to use this as a metaphor. I'm in a plane flying my 172 Cessna from Santa Barbara. I had a meeting in Santa Barbara, and this years ago, to Reading. And it was a sunny day. I get in the plane and I'm on my way home. What happens? The weather turned nasty, for goodness sakes. And here is strong Angelo who can elect the world because I was with the Marines. All of a sudden I'm in a state of continued fear. Because when you're in a light aircraft, the winds could tear off the wings of your airplane. And the wind, and I couldn't see. And so we're trained to contact it's a radar center in Oakland. Okay, and then I get on the radio and I say, Oakland Center, this is 733 Whiskey Hotel. That was the name of my plane, Whiskey Hotel. 733, this is Whiskey Hotel, need vectors to rain. And the voice comes back and says, 733 Whiskey Hotel, turn your transponders on to 73. Turn on the 73. It said, we have you on scope. Let us know when you have the airport in sight. Now there's a metaphor here of what I just talked to you about. Yes. That we get in, and when I'm in that plane and I'm frightened to death, and my conditioned mind says, Angelo, you're an idiot. You filed your flight plan, but did you check the weather? Now we're going to die. You're going to die. Because the wings are going to be pulled off your airplane and you're going to go down. All that kind of stuff I'm going through. And when we face those kinds of situations during this year, where it seems almost impossible with the economy, the job, the relationships, all that, our mind seems to gravitate to dissension, doesn't it? And we hear negatives, and what do? We believe the negative, we were dragged right back into the negative. And it's an insidious, cancerous growth in the mind. And what the metaphor here is, Oakland Center, the radar center, which is on a silo down underneath, Oakland Center is that spiritual entity that's within ourselves. That when we're confronted by this terrible stuff that's going on, that there's a place to go. And the place to go for Angelo in that airplane was to try to not be frightened. Once in a while, the announcer would come on, Oakland Center would come on and say, 733 Whiskey Hotel, you have traffic at 2 o'clock. Well, does that help me a lot? Oh my God, somebody's coming at 2. And go to an elevation of such and such, directing the way. And so all of us, when we get into those situations, there's a place to go. And I call it the Oakland Center. Over the years, reminding me of what happened with Angelo when he was in the state of pure fright. That if I'm confronted with something, there's an Oakland Center within my own life that I can go to. Isn't that cool? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so anyway, after going through working me over, I get this voice comes on and says, 733 Whiskey Hotel, do you have airport in sight? Well, think about this. My mind's not on anything but fear. So that spiritual entity is blocked. And I said, I was startled. I says, no, but I'm looking. And the guy said, look down. So I looked down, and sure enough, through the haze, there's the bright lights of the Reading Airport. Now, that's the metaphor for us today. I use that because it's true. And it happened to this old guy. And what is it? We get so confused. We allow our conditioned mind to continue to do all these things. And so there's a guy called Krishnamurti. How many of you know Krishnamurti? He's a spiritual teacher. He's kind of a cool guy. And what he said was, we need to do this. We need to enable ourselves. We need to allow our minds to be empty. How do you do that? Try it. We need to empty all of our fear and our doubt, our unkindness that we show others, our